every system, there's a signal, a pulse, a spark that cuts through the noise. Some call it innovation, some call it disruption. We call it the protocol. So plug in, power up, and follow the signal. This is Neon Protocol.
Welcome to tonight's episode of Neon Protocol. This is going to be a little bit different of a typical episode in that it's going to be more of a roundtable without a guest. So we have some of our Neon Protocol committee members here. I never really know how to refer to us. We're just the members of this wonderful group. So we have Dan Meeks, Mike Vann, Damon Shackleford, and Mark Grob with us. And tonight, rather than having a special guest, we're actually going to talk about some current headlines that really have been going on that we've missed. We've been really trying to focus on delivering some really good new content as we're starting this podcast. And so we really wanted to get some really good information out to everybody and start gaining, following an audience, however we want to put it. And we're at a point where we start realizing that there's some really big headlines that we haven't gotten to address. So tonight, that's what we're going to kind of do is talk about some of the recent trends, headlines that have been occurring in XR AI over the past couple weeks, and if not months, and trying to understand what the possible bigger implications could be. So I'm gonna kind of start it off with a very big hot take for some of us, Meta. And what they've been doing over the past couple months, they went from laying off quite a few of their workforce to move over to AI. Now they're saying they regret it, as the announcement from today just came out that they're dropping Ray-Ban and going to a very price pointed smart glass with their own AI system. So let's talk. What are implications, thoughts, ideas, opinions?
Well,
let's hear it.
I'm beginning to hate this company. I really am. I am beginning to despise that leadership. There's some really cool people that work there.
Story in like 20 years coming out of Meta, to be quite honest.
Yeah. So there's some cool people who work there, but that leadership sucks.
Absolutely. They're changing course right and left. And
so I've got something, and you might have to cut this out, but maybe not. So how, maybe I missed something. I've been busy. Is Kylie Jenner involved with Meta now? I mean, is Kylie Jenner on the payroll? Is that what's happening?
That would be a good question.
Looks like it.
I had some salty quip to give to was it Antonio, the blogger that does XR, and he was releasing that thing, and I posed the question. It's like, well, Luxottica is a plastic injected company that makes a lot of money, and nobody knows why. Anyway, but why does so much damn money? Like, they are just plastic injected glasses, yet they have this death grip on licensing that they'll sue anybody that tries to copy their stuff, and then they charge $500 for a pair of glasses.
I think the kind of common denominator is fashion, right? Fashion, the way that industry works, the celebrity in and around it, and it's now like all of a sudden upon us in XR, and that's a little foreign, I think, to this industry.
A lot foreign, frankly.
I guess I picked my wife because she has sensible shoes. I don't know.
I'm sorry.
My hot take. But no. I mean, Mike, you got a point there, man. I mean, yeah, fashion is a bit of a fish hook that will grab some people, and
it's.
Really
I thought I was I thought I got. I thought I was reading an AI story, and then I'm like, wait a second, they actually did that.
Yeah, and I think it. But you lead up to a good point. It's think about, we've tried everything to push the technology out, and I think going to Kylie Jenner, from a marketing standpoint, it's actually kind of genius. Now for those of us that have been in the industry for a while, you know what? We had so many cooler things to show. There were so many other things, and just, but I do think the price point may actually help the as we get past the jokes, the 299 price point may actually help them out in the long run, because I just started reading that because all this news is so new that the LCO or Lexora actually still make Ray-Ban. So they're actually still with the Ray-Ban company, but apparently it's just simply a rebranding to a cheaper brand. It's the Aldi glasses. Sorry, Aldi.
Wow. I like Aldi.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm sorry,
really,
but
really
it's
good European
because
chocolate.
you see so many CPG companies selling the exact same product in the aisles of Aldi, and all they do is take off the brand. I mean, like Oreos,
do you think
made
they're
by
still
the
going to?
exact same company. All they're paying for is the actual Oreo stamp. The only thing it doesn't apply to is Heinz ketchup. There is only Heinz. There is nothing else.
Do you think they're still going to push them at the ophthalmologist like they're currently doing? Okay, yeah, because the numbers for the Meta Ray Bans, I really got a feeling that it's because it was an upsell at the eye doctor that really got them. So I wonder if they're going to be widely available like they were for the Luxottica brands. So
Well,
that's my question.
to your
I
point,
would.
that's really the winning aspect to the AI glasses as a whole, right? Even the Roku glasses, right? If my eye doctor has some sort of relationship, you know, um, I can use my deductible to get the glasses, which is really cool, right? To Meta's point, right? I personally feel it might hurt Meta by getting rid of the Ray-Ban branding, right? Because that's what everybody, when I'm wearing AI glasses, everyone thinks it's, oh, are those the Ray-Bans, right?
Yeah.
And now it's,
Yeah.
oh, are those Metas? And it's like, okay, so what I'm just going to quickly say on my hot take is it's not surprising and it's not unexpected. Is that basically, yeah, this is a Meta playbook. They buy something, they rebrand it, and then they'll stop subsidizing it in, 4 years or 2 years. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll also support what Mike said at the beginning of this little bit of a tirade, and that is that this is a whole new world for AR, for wearable. I mean, what are we getting into? Wearable fashion now? We're going to start seeing runway models with accoutrements, to go along with the latest dresses in, I don't know, Paris. I don't know. This is very, very new.
If it's really going to go mainstream,
market.
then this is all going to come with it, right?
It has to.
And we have to be willing to go for that ride, and then try and help shape where the technology can go for everybody.
Absolutely.
Wow.
And I do think it is going to escalate the conflict between cameras or no cameras. Because right now between the Evan G2s, which congratulations on getting in the James Bond game. Absolutely great marketing play. But you've got this competition now between Evan G2 and all the other ones. And it's now, to me, it's going to push the question, are the cameras even necessary?
Mm-hmm. And the going trend right now is the AI glasses being sold in industry or enterprise. All the manufacturers saying it's because there's no camera, right?
Yes.
Slight tangent, but I also heard some scuttlebutt about putting cameras in earpods to
yeah, there's this
spatial
Fruit
tracking.
Company, right? Fruit Company that was going to do that. Yeah,
I'm not sure who it was.
I think there was a fruit.
But the
company.
idea is that you're essentially you're cow-eyed. You end up with two cameras on the side of your head, and therefore you're giving more spatial awareness as opposed to something that's locked within your field of view. So that's an interesting take.
But my thing is, I will never want to watch the videos that I filmed out of my ear canal.
That's a good sentence right there.
Yeah,
Edit.
it's just not in the cards of any
here's something to think
technology
about, though.
dream I've had.
Well, it's more for the spatial knowing for your AI agent, but think of it this way: there's a lot of YouTubers out there that will use a 360 camera at a very high resolution, and then scale it down to actually frame their video. So it is a way to kind of capture a lot of stuff all at the same time, and then make a slightly scaled down video that's actually locked to your subject. So that's a possibility. But so yeah, in the future, it might not just be the cameras that are actually on the frames that you got to worry about. It's where's the camera hidden?
Cameras all around.
All yeah,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, my Nissan right now has cameras, kind of all around it, and when I hit the reverse gear, it gives me this nice stitched video of what appears to be a top-down view, even though, of course, there is no camera on the very top of my car. It really kind of was trippy when the first time it came on. I love it now. It's a great little safety feature. I mean, if you go that route with humans, people in a crowd, you want to see who's around you, make sure somebody's not picking your pocket or getting a little too close where they shouldn't be. I could see some spatial awareness being a safety feature too.
Oh, absolutely. Well, and I mean, even talking about cameras even more, I can't remember which headset that came out off the top of my head, but apparently it took the Vision Pro to the next level by the cameras are actually able to show true eye pass through. So in other words, the blinking you see and everything is not an AI of your eyes. It's actually your eyes coming through the screen, coming through the front. And I can't remember who it was. It was a big one too. There's been so much movement.
There's some crazy stuff out there right now. But
Well,
I guess if Kylie Jenner says it's okay, then yeah, fine, I'll buy it.
Well, but
That's very
it,
meta
but
of
you
you.
kind, but it,
Thank you.
yeah, and I kind of go back to the old marketing back in the early 2000s. If I remember, when we were going from pagers to cell phones, and there was that sidekick that was like the kind of the in between. It was like the really high tech pager.
Mm-hmm. And I
You know,
think they used Paris Hilton to push that one.
that would be the
Did
one.
they?
Yep.
And all of
Oh,
a
I
sudden,
forgot.
pagers and the sidekick blew up. It really did. It pop culture. It's about which is kind of what we want, and we tried everything else, unfortunately. I mean, this is just spaghetti at the wall at this point.
Yeah, but I think 20 years on, the monoculture's kind of eroded a little bit, at least in the United States. So I don't know if it's going to
We
stick.
hope.
You know,
We hope.
but
It'll
You
be
know,
quite
you know,
interesting to see what happens with just unit sales on these things. Cameras, no cameras, displays, no displays. I
Mhm.
have a bunch of pairs of these, as we all do, and I find myself wearing the audio only glasses a lot just because I'm using them as an audio input, and they're great. And if I use my AI, apps and agents on there, it's wonderful. When I walk down to the Panera or downtown and someone sees cameras on my face, I get looks. People are going to feel that, so it's going to be really interesting.
Yeah, that's the
absolutely.
aspect, right? It's the risk. It's that risk of, someone sees the camera or they see, the pin light on the one
right.
side, are they
Yeah,
going
Yep.
to punch your
it's
block
also
out?
that nice. It's also that nice market data. The user data we've always wanted. Right, instead of pushing the technology, we get enough information to create pull. You don't have to wonder, is this camera too obtrusive? Are these glasses, do they look good? Will this new hardware venture actually sell? Well, you probably have some data where you could, extrapolate into the market finally, because you finally have some mass in the market.
I mean, just going on the whole not surprising, not unexpected, right? Is this just another meta play where they want to totally dominate a market, that
Hmm.
sort of they've created? And then, what do you do?
Yeah, meta. Blech.
Yeah. Small tangent on that. I listened to a podcast of Alvin Wayne Graylin talking about the history of the early development of HTC and how Meta just completely ruined everything. 'Cause they were really ahead, and back in the day when like the Vive Pre came out and all that. Um, yeah, they were ahead, but they also didn't have billions and billions of dollars. I think HTC, I think in the podcast you said that the whole company was $2 billion of HTC. And yeah, Meta just completely bulldozed, the next decade. Um,
Yeah.
so
Well,
yeah, Mark's got a point there. Maybe
absolutely.
that's their attempt.
But the thing I don't like is they bulldozed the landscape, with what I feel sometimes are very false promises, because they're like, all right, we've got this new tool, everybody buys into it, and then a year later they're like, you know what, we're getting rid of it. And it's like, how are we ever expected to have anything stick if they're constantly pulling stuff? And to kind of throw back into uh kind of where we're going to it with the eyeglasses is, I don't think what they really realize, the can of worms they also opened when it comes to copyright. So over the past 2 weeks, there was a great movie that came out. Highly recommend it, especially if you're Gen X and you grew up with 80s cartoons. It absolutely fantastic movie. But if you go on particular apps that have reels or videos, you will see so many people that just sat there with their glasses and recorded the whole film. The whole film. And then I go back to, I'm from St. Louis. For those of you that remember in the 90s, Guns N' Roses is not welcome in St. Louis. They have not been for close to 30 years because Axl Rose jumped in the crowd because somebody was taking a photo of him, which my kids think is so bizarre. They're like, what, cameras weren't allowed at concerts? Not at all. And so, but I think is what you're going to have is you're going to see artists, you're going to see movie studios, you're going to see a lot of people. And this, to me, this is a very quiet thing that people I don't think are going to realize the type of impact this is going to have. But on the flip side, had Meta or one of these smart glass companies with cameras given every Scotsman in Boston or Scots person in Boston a pair of glasses, they would be through the roof because we would have so much content out there that would be awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of change coming. So smart glasses and everything that's coming in the market there is super hot. What else do we have on the list, Gene?
So, yeah, that one kind of went into it. Now, if you guys want to hear more about it too, we did have an episode with Courtney Harding where we really talked about privacy, smart glasses. So would highly recommend you guys going back and listening to that. I think the next one is NVIDIA really has been making some moves recently. So NVIDIA, because they put ChatGPT and the whole idea of AI out there, now they're actually doing an XR AI public beta. So they're actually now trying to merge the two worlds, which is what we were always hoping for because we knew they were two sides of the same coin. But now seeing what NVIDIA could potentially do with it. So I don't know how much you guys have heard about it. I know it's been relatively recent news from what I gather, but I could be way off. I could be in a cave.
Well,
We talked about that go ahead.
Yeah, I'm still trying to rock what you said, both sides of the same coin. What do you mean by that?
So for me, I see XR and AI as smaller pieces to a much bigger ecosystem. So in other words, like for me, they're like spokes of a wheel. So we know we've got AI, we've got XR, but to me, there's a higher technology that's above it that is actually comprised of those two pieces in a I can't believe I'm going to say this, in a synergetic way.
No,
it's very truthy of you.
I think I follow.
So
the thing about XR is that it allows for higher levels of abstraction as opposed to like basic computer, programming, all the way up to this, where you're actually just using your hands and, working with the world as you do as a human being. And so I'm thinking that's what you're saying, is that it's allowing for that type of computer interaction.
Absolutely. For me, it's about being able to be Flynn and having Bit sing right next to me, talking to me and guiding me. That I see it as two blends. That what if, as we create, let's say, these immersive spaces, we are so locked into branching. We are so locked into what we can design. But what if we could have AI created as fluid as a dream? create that experience to where the AI is automatically able to adapt and create something and adjust the base environment that we create. Holodeck. That's exactly what I'm kind of thinking, because they would tell the computer, this is the scenario I want. And each time you go into it, it'd be different because the AI is able to have a influence on the immersive experience that helps to create greater believability. Now I'm just talking myself into a circle.
Well, I mean, I can tell you from the developer side of things, you know, it's great to have options, and a lot of large organizations, big enterprises are working with NVIDIA, investing in, equipment and hardware and services. So it's welcome to see them kind of really getting serious about merging XR, digital twins, and AI, because people want to be able to leverage all this super powered hardware that is out there to do great things, and so they seem to be embracing it. There's a tool set more than they had before, so we're actually have actually been asked to start to investigate this in some cases. But you have to have money and resources to play in that game. But I think what can be done is going to be pretty tremendous.
No, Cloud XR and Omniverse, all these other prior things, they never really filtered down to me. I don't know if the direction is down where I'm at, but it was just, it was never a screwdriver I reached for. I'd fire up Blender instead. So it's it seems cool, but it's just like, well, maybe for larger enterprises it's something else, but
it's kind of the only place it exists. And Dan, on the government and defense side of things, like, it may not be there yet at all, right?
But the nice thing is, it to me, it's a movement in a good direction, because at least now we can start gaining content. We can start developing content, because nothing is worse than having a new device or new software coming and you can't do anything with it. It's like the old video game industry. When consoles would release and there was like the N64, nothing killed it more than Pilot Wings 64. That was the only game that you could get for it. To me, it kind of goes back to that. So, but no, getting into that, so leading into what NVIDIA's been doing, it seems like this fall is going to be a big thing with the fruit company we just talked about. So, because they have a new, a huge improvement. It kills me it took them this long, but I'm not a developer, so I won't say anything. I apologize if I upset anybody on that. But the spatial orb AI and being able to lock things in the Vision Pro OS. So in other words, you can lock different apps to anchor at different places in your physical environment.
I just kind of want to jump in here. I mean, we're kind of
No, go for it.
I mean, just to add a little bit to the multimodal agents thing, I'm a little more, how do I describe it? Right? I'm seeing it from the enterprise side, and I really don't see it as a multinodal agents as a big benefit. I really see it as a run-on play of service and subscription for things that some of us in the enterprise space are already doing ourselves. Um, you know, Using AI agents in combination to create content, to manage content, to, create a dynamic layer within the experience, I don't think is new. I'm more sort of cautious because, what am I going to have to pay? Just like with the other AI services, what am I going to have to pay to get it to work? Or am I now going to have to buy a new chipset so that I can run it locally on the VR headset, right? Call me practical, call me pessimistic, maybe. But that's kind of with the modal nodal agent stuff. In regards to Apple, I mean, it's interesting because um, the whole sort of spatial orb concept, is it really a case of Apple rebranding the concept of spatially aware AI?
right?
Yeah. And it's other companies have done it too, but I think you hit onto a great thing. The trend of subscription-based software has gone overboard. Sorry, this is my hot take. I'm on a soapbox now, because I've really gotten irate about this because car companies are doing it. As of 2027, car companies are required to have a kill chip in it. So if the AI senses you are driving erratically, it will kill it. But one company that I will not say the name. Their 4 letters begins with F. But what they have in their kill chip, apparently, this is all alleged. This is all
Damn
allegedly.
those Italians! Those Italians, I tell you.
No.
Deep
All
cut.
right.
There is the protocol deep cut right there.
Nice.
So
You
I'm
got
going
it.
to protect us. Allegedly. Allegedly.
Allegedly. Yeah.
Their kill chip. I'm going to have so much fun editing this episode. The kill
That's going to
chip
be awesome.
is the kill chip will let you. So if, let's say, you don't pay, Ford can go in and say, shut the windshield wipers down. Okay, you don't pay for another month, shut the door locks down. You don't pay for a third, they can actually systematically shut down pieces of your car. But now think about it. Every car you're going to buy is going to be fully loaded. And now to Mark's point, you're going to have to pay a subscription and yearly fees to turn it on and keep it going.
They're going to gray out your seat heaters until you upgrade.
There's a key word there. You said buy, but it sure does sound like you didn't really buy it.
No,
That's right.
no, you're
Yeah,
getting
yeah.
it. And the thing is,
The ownership problem, right?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah. And the ultimate repo ban.
Yeah, well, no, we'll pick on Steam, right? There was a big law case about Steam and who owns the game, right? Is it really just a lease, right? And now the automotive industry is going to try that, right?
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
even
This is how you start government regulation, and then everybody has fun.
yeah, I mean, and even to the point to where now they're trying to build the vehicles so they cannot be maintained at home. How long before computers are like that? I mean, we're starting to see just a much bigger thing, and it makes me wonder, okay, at some point you can't get blood from a stone is kind of where I'm going with it. I mean, with these subscription basis. So, sorry, I'm done. That's
Well,
my hot take.
it's not all doom and gloom, because there's a term called liberty tech, which, there's all these tinkerers out there. Is it as sexy as all these big companies? No, but you can get a ESP32 board and flash it with some firmware that you found on GitHub, and you vibe code an app, and you got something that was pretty dang good from like 5 years ago. Like right now, I got a window up of the Meshtastic, well, actually Meshcore, people in northern Florida, and we're talking about the weather right now. There's no service. There is no subscription. There's a little antenna on my roof, and it's pinging another antenna down the street, which pings another antenna. And we've created our own little network here. And so there's hope, Mr. Photo. There is some good in this world,
No, honestly, I know I'll admit
Do you
I'm
believe,
very
Sam?
much.
Do you believe?
You must believe. All right, our evangelical portion is started now. No, I do.
Peter
I'm
Jackson's
the
coming
unbeliever.
to hunt us down now. You know that, Dan,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
No, and I believe
Another
there's possibly
infringement.
I believe there's going to be a renaissance where we're going to see all the beauty of what this technology can do. But I think right now we're in this point where we're seeing a lot of companies that have struggled financially, and unfortunately it's bearing the brunt on a lot of us. And I think that, not trying to get into a political thing, but we're watching companies change so quickly their roadmaps. That Google now is going to release glasses. Are they? Are they? I mean, that's where we already had so many false starts. Why are we creating more? I think is where I get back to on it.
Well, that's because people get desperate when it's not sustainable. That's the real answer, right?
Yeah, but did we not learn from Theranos?
No, but that's not what TechPro wants. So,
Yeah,
Anyways,
that's the discussion about Midjourney and their pivot. I watched a show, Primogen, by the way, if you ever want to know about what's going on in tech. He did the math
Primage.
on the calculations on how the AI would actually function, and it is like many more times than the compute or the network traffic on the internet right now, or it was the other way around, maybe 18%. It was a crazy amount. So, they didn't think it all the way through, which seems to be a trend, I think. Yeah.
well, you kind of look
absolutely.
at like what we've been doing, right? It's age old story, right? Like enterprise, I'll go circa 2016 or even closer to now, 2020, right? Enterprise was like, can we do it? Right? Then we found value, right? Now it's when I do something in AI, right? I'm being asked, well, how many tokens did it take to do it? Right? Versus before it was burn, baby, burn, right? So I think that's really where this all is. It's a case where it's, I call it, what's the term? Uh, efficiency first, right? It's now becoming the mantra in enterprise, right? You need to be efficient now. Now, because you can do it, now you need to show efficiency, right? You need to show value, real value to usage instead of, oh, I converted a PDF to a Word document and it burned 20 tokens, right? Now it's a case of, no, what really did you do? I was sitting on another AI panel and a guy was gloating that he burned 1 million tokens doing a web page. And I just started chuckling in the presentation. And the speaker said, Mark, why are you laughing? I said, I can't believe you're actually saying you burned 1 million tokens to make a web page, right? Because the value you're showing me, it's actually waste, because
Mhm.
1 million tokens, depending on the framework or model that's doing it, that's a lot of money, right? Compared to you would have got the same results from a firm or studio or marketing group at a quarter of the cost, right? And it goes back to why are they hiring people back, right? It's because it's efficiency first. So yeah, 100%.
And yeah, efficiency is a big word nowadays. It really is. I mean, watching just a lot of what companies do, and this is going to bring us full circle on the efficiency, is going back to NVIDIA with efficiency. Anybody see the announcement they made about their cooling plant?
Yeah,
So
completely
apparently,
closed loop.
yeah, apparently they can do a closed loop made of 75% water, 25% propylene glycol, and it flows through cold plates and it pulls the
Propylene
heat
glycol.
away. If I mispronounce it, sorry, but it takes the cooling related water from 2.6 million gallons per megawatt each year to near zero in favorable climates. Now, I question the in favorable climates. I'm in Missouri. There are no favorable climates here. Okay, period. So let's just start there. But that if they could, I mean, think about the resolution to a huge argument going on right now, which is the data center cooling. And I don't know if it's as big as a issue with where you guys live. It's because I'm in Missouri. I mean, we have a town, Festus, that's making national news because they're just going head to head with a major data center provider.
Yeah, North
It's
Jersey
happening
towns
everywhere.
are vetoing left and right. Yeah.
Yep.
I
Yeah.
kind of
But
joke
very nearby.
think of the old cell tower, right? The old cell tower problem. Carriers wanted to bring cell towers into small towns, and they would basically just destroy it because they're like the beauty of whatever, right? Same thing here.
Absolutely. Well, and the wind towers. But the one thing I keep going back to is, I just blinked out of it too.
I mean, while you're thinking, Gene, it's an
Yeah, go for
interesting
it.
point. I mean, these are huge challenges that, a lot of really massive companies are going after now. and they will solve them. They'll come up with a lot of novel ways to do it. So part of the benefit here is that some technologies are going to be developed. That heat transfer thing, I mean, they've already been doing this for years, but they're going to do it at such a level that, you know, that can start to maybe impact the other energy needs and energy production for the rest of the world. And, you know, some good is going to come out of solving some of these challenges. So I think there's some good, you know, side product of all of this. I mean, there's probably as much or more bad, but hopefully, you know, if you look at it optimistically, we're going to invent some new technology along the way.
Absolutely, because I just look at this as a of evolution of Bitcoin mining.
Yeah.
You know,
to Mark's point, you know,
Yeah.
it's all about efficiency, right? So this build giant plants and make everybody angry and burn a lot of electricity, and at least the water seems to be solved. But there's going to be this march to keep making this more and more efficient, because right now this isn't going to work. So I bet top men are working on this at the moment.
Top men,
Now,
another
to be fair,
deep protocol
top men
cut.
and women are working on this.
That was not in
let's
the
be fair.
movie. Stick with the deep cut.
I had to give a 2026 edit to it.
Now it is.
We're only 7 episodes in.
It would be recursive if the AI is trying to figure out how to make better AI. That would be kind of cool. But who knows?
That's actually already happening too.
Yeah.
It's good. That's Anthropic's problem right now.
Well, even a company we talked about previously, they had that same problem a couple years back where they actually had to shut the AIs off because they developed their own language. You know, to talk to each other. And like I tell people, if you really want to have a really fun experience, take Siri, have her ask Alexa a question. As Alexa responds, what'll happen is within about 30 seconds, they will go from talking in English. And once they realize they're talking to each other, they go into sounds, into basically binary speak of tones. It is the coolest thing in the world, but it really scares you.
Will my AI glasses translate that discussion?
Oh, that's a
product.
Oh, that's a fourth wall break right there. All right. So if you try it, because if you're listening and you try it, please send us the response. We would love to hear what happens.
Assuming you're still alive when it finishes.
Yeah, it's kind of like typing Google into Google. You will break the internet.
Divide by 0. Yeah.
So, all right.
Oh, what's next?
So let's see.
Do we want to beat that a little more?
No, I mean, honestly, I think we've really kind of talked about, you know, some of those big things, but it kind of goes, I think, to the overall theme of just how fast things are moving again. And how, you know, I mean, I remember a year ago, we were all talking about, before we actually started the podcast and just our normal conversations, we had this grand idea of what do we call it? You know, what's a better word? And seeing spatial, which honestly, I didn't think, I'll admit, I was one of those people that didn't see, I thought it was more about work relate than kind of this overall computing, but really seeing it resonate with people as a idea, I think is really cool. And I think for me, it's seeing things that are moving so fast, but also understanding that, you know, it's growing organically by people now developing their own language for it. Does that make sense? Or did I just get really deep and philosophical on a Wednesday night?
I think people with all levels of kind of grasp on this stuff are coming up with their own ways to explain it, right? And that's all the way down to like person on the street that has nothing to do with technology. So I think that's kind of natural. This stuff is going mainstream. Everybody's using it in some way. So it's pretty interesting to watch. You know, there's a tremendous amount going on, and that's going to happen, and we're in the middle of it, which is fun time to be in tech. And yeah, I mean, I'm glad we're doing this.
Blaze. You know, I used to talk about donuts, but now, you know, that's a term of the AI being just a little too nice to you. That entered the lexicon. I don't know where that bubbled up from, but it was definitely
Whoa.
organic.
So you're
So
saying to me now, glazed donut is how we now describe false confidence of AI? Is that what you're
I
saying?
think just glaze.
yes,
Just
I don't know.
No, just the word glaze.
Just glaze.
The
Yeah,
answer that answer was glazed.
I learned
yeah,
something today.
You know what? That's on fleek.
6-7.
yeah.
But
Well, and
no, Mike's
also
right. This is
the
go
derogatory
ahead.
term clanker. I say it with a hard R. To my wife, she'll say like, "This damn clanker just glazed me again." It's like we did not say that to each other 2 years ago. So, um, but that's where we are. And so, to your point, Gene, I mean, we don't know what the future is, and we're kind of stumbling into it every single day. And to kind of bring it to a point, like, I had a real heart to heart with Claude the other day because I was like, "Hey, I ain't handing my ID over to you to keep working with you. Even though you know everything about my business and have taken pictures of my front yard because I work on computer vision, like you have all this stuff. Why do you need me to humiliate myself with an ID?" And it tried to calm me down from the ledge, saying, "No, no, no, you're not an Iranian terrorist, Dan. It's cool." But that's really what it's about. I'm like, yeah, but still. But anyway, I don't know what's going to happen next. So I'm thinking to myself, like, okay, do I need to take some money out of savings and get that local AI agent spun up sooner than later? Because my entire career of technology is all about rug pulls. And I'm like, well, is the rug pull happening? Like, is this the beginning of it? Because I sure am invested. Like Claude's been a huge help with me, just being a single person business. Wow, it's been a force multiplier.
Yeah,
Um,
yep, it's
but
time.
it might go away at any moment.
Yep, it's
So I
time
got
to
to be
dust
prepared.
off. Time to dust off DeepSeek. Run it local. Yep.
Yeah.
Ni hao. Yeah.
Alibaba will thank you.
Yeah.
I'm never
Yeah.
going back.
But you bring up a great point. I mean, because as we've seen with other companies, what's to stop NVIDIA from going to Claude and saying, you know what, we're going to give you XX amount of money. And you know what, if the money's good enough, they'll sell it. And next thing you know, Claude's either integrated or shelved. And, so it's really, and especially what's going to happen at some point and I was always like this with VR too, is the ecosystem. Are we ever going to have a point where the AIs can talk to each other? That, we already hate shifting our cell phones, especially if we have to shift from Apple to Samsung. Now, like you have all your stuff in Claude. If you had to go to a different AI engine tomorrow, uh, the amount of work is
Yeah, that's going to be a lot of
No.
markdown files to
Yeah.
build the context
There's
again. Yeah.
there's
So,
a command now. You can download your history and switch files over.
But
I switch between Grok and Claude regularly.
I guess I just look at it as it would be great if they could talk to each other where you didn't have to do that. If that makes sense, where, it's an AI ecosystem, but does that require uniformity? So in other words, one AI, will there ever be one ring to rule them all?
Well, that's the
Not when there's so
original
much
hype,
money involved.
right? That was the original hype was, that each ChatGPT was the best AI or Claude was the best AI, right? Now you're starting to talk about what the developing concepts of trust layer, right? And the aspect of, now we need, specifically in enterprise, right? We need some sort of layer to be created where one, we can manage the trust, but also manage the ability to flip flop based on what we're doing, right? So I call it the use case layer, right? And this is kind of like starting, right? Because now if you're making me pay to use this product, right? Now I'm going to be super critical, right? If I'm paying Cloud or I'm paying Copilot or I'm paying Watson X or something else, right? I want to make sure I have my interoperability because I understand that there's a benefit to each of the models. So I should be able to capitalize on it, right? Because now I'm paying. So to your point, right? That's an additional layer.
Yeah, and you know what? For the benefit of that, you have to pay a subscription. And we've come full circle again.
Well, I could, these things are being worked on, and they are not coming from those $5 trillion companies. There are people developing these kind of independent, layered solutions, and whether or not they can emerge and be significant, maybe for business use and for enterprise in ways where it gives people and companies kind of their own control, that those could become real products. But it's all about trust, and it's all about risk and legal and all the things that companies care about, right, Mark? So yeah, I mean, I think there's going to be a lot of that, but you're going to have Google and Microsoft and Anthropic and everybody continuing to bang your doors down and demand your money. And
Here,
Yeah.
here's the flip.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And
Here's the
now
flip.
China's coming out with some really interesting stuff too. So add
So
them to the list.
so what happens when, we were just talking about, we take the technology in a full circle, right? So now what happens when, as a business owner, right, NVIDIA has rights to your solution, because we're talking about small guys figuring out the right way, right? What happens when NVIDIA says, well, we're going to take away your tensor for that solution, right? Because there's a dependence at platform, right? What happens, right? That's like the old AWS problem with small business, right? There were small businesses that really created an awesome solution. So what happened? Amazon came over and said, oh, we're going to charge you more, there's more service fees or whatever, to the point where they took it, right? Because it worked. So the question now is, when, more so than if, when is that going to happen with something like AI, right? And what's going to become of it? Is that going to be the pop? Is that going to be the bubble, right? Trigger, or is it something else?
Absolutely. Plus, I keep thinking about that we're not even anticipating what these kids that are learning AI naturally, what I mean, in 5 years from now, when these 12-year-olds get through high school and all of a sudden they enter, what type of things are they going to be creating homegrown that are going to be 10 times better than anything?
Well,
And
yeah, yes and no, because yeah, they're gonna be totally adapted to this new world, but with zero knowledge of the fundamentals.
good
And I tell
point.
you, man, I saw it in the Air Force. So what we did, and make sure I don't get on this for too long,
No,
but I was
please.
right at the end when we did celestial navigation in aircraft, where you put a sextant up on the top of the aircraft and actually shot the sun and the moon and Arcturus and all that stuff. I was at the tail end of that, and when I came back as an instructor, we were now combat systems officers, meaning you were in charge of the GPS and the inertial navigation system and all these other things that you had on board. But you only had, instead of 3 months about the fundamentals, you got 2 weeks. And I saw that in my students that they didn't really understand what was going on underneath the hood. So I don't have an answer though. Yeah, they're going to be really awesome at using AI, but they're also not going to have something because there's only so many penguins you can put on your iceberg of a brain. So, one jumps on, another one's got to jump off. So, you know, that's how it goes.
No, I agree, and I think that's where, like, the experience, I think, as kinda getting back to a previous conversation, like, as we throw immersion into it now, that can help give them that real-time experience of, to help kind of offset it, because I do think it's, like, from a learning standpoint, this could be an equalizer, and I only say it because, there was a recent use case I came across with some firefighters that I found really interesting. I actually shared it on LinkedIn, but it was a study out of Brazil that where they said experience barely touched performance when using this new technology for VR, like VR training with AI. They were saying that, what actually moved the needle, so they all kind of came to, even the 20-year veterans, of really not knowing how to use the technology. The VR headsets, the AI, they were all kind of coming to, it was because firefighting, very experience based type of role. But what they found is that, in 120, they tested 126 firefighters in VR. The years of experience that they had explained less than 1% of their performance, along with their gaming experience. So basically, They didn't need experience with the not with the VR headsets or the type of gaming that was done. Once they got in there, they about 98% of them said the realism was so powerful from what was being created and what was being shown that they immediately jumped into firefighter mode. And that because the stakes were so high or the believability, and I thought that was a really interesting use case because what it really did is show that you could have all the experience, but if it's the first situation you're ever experiencing, regardless of 20, 30 years, you're still coming at it new. And they were able to approach that. So you have, let's say, a new firefighting method. Everybody's got to learn it. What a great equalizer across the learning models.
I mean,
Sorry, I know I got really long-winded.
I mean,
No,
I think what you're describing to me is what I traditionally would call just the accelerant, right? It has nothing
Yeah.
to do with AI. It's the fact that the simulation that you're using for training was properly designed. Hence, you have the accelerant, right? I'm trying to think of the military term. Dan, help me out. It was a force multiplier. There we go.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's really what you're talking about. It really has nothing to do with AI, right? I wish we had Bob Stone on here, right? Because Bob
Yeah.
would be the guy that would actually probably just say what I said, right?
Well,
Um,
if I can give a quick war story to kind of amplify what you're saying there, Mark, is um, so part of my work, because the Afghanistan war dragged on for a long time. There was a village just south of Kabul that did most of the JTAC training in the simulators. And so I spent a good decade in that village, building missions, testing stuff out, training people. Um, and then I got on a treadmill. It was an Omnifinity, and my brain clicked. Like there was a whole nother side of my brain that activated because I've been walking down those alleys and streets for a decade, but it wasn't until I actually put one leg in front of the other that the depth of the alley clicked. Like all these other things, I was in a headset, obviously, but it wasn't until my body was fully engaged that the rest of my brain, saw what was happening. So yeah, designing the simulation correctly for what you need to do.
Absolutely. And I think this is where, and this I think I can I know I'm coming a broken record on it, but of how the AI piece can come into it is by creating additional functionality of things so people don't have to create. So great example. And that Dan, I'm right in there with you when you have something that clicks and all of a sudden it's like, all right, I'm there. For me, I had an opposite reaction to one particular app. I loved it. It was an old on the Oculus when it first came out, the Rift. It was the Blade Runner apartment. Oh, I was so excited to go into it, and it was beautifully done. If the artists happen to ever listen to this podcast, you guys really did a great job. However, when I went to the piano and I couldn't play anything, when I went to the refrigerator and I couldn't open the door, all of a sudden that realism shattered in a heartbeat. And so for me, it also goes on the side effect. And that's where I think AI can come into it is by saying, all right, you know what? The user wants to open this. We never anticipated anybody ever wanting to do it, but let's go ahead and let them do it. It's same thing like the open world games. And so that's where I kind of come into it because we also never want the illusion shattered as well. For a deep cut, we never want somewhere in time penny moment to ever happen to any of us. For those of you who never saw the movie Somewhere in Time, watch it and you'll understand the penny moment.
but what you're describing to me is what we do now in enterprise, right?
Yeah,
The whole point is
absolutely.
the AI sort of automates or provides a sort of dynamic response to scale for the way a user, say, interacts unexpectedly, right? So I see the value that you're talking about, but to me, it's just scale, right?
Yeah,
It's just a function of
really.
scale.
Yeah, but Mark, you
Absolutely.
you phrased this question before, which is it's dynamic, but is it consistent? Because when you're training somebody, and I think we had a prior discussion on this before. Like in the Air Force, you got to give everybody a fair shake because if you wash them out, you got to say, well, we did everything that we're supposed to do, and you weren't up to standards. But if you say, well, we went above and beyond with this student, and he barely got his wings, but this guy, we kind of half-assed it, and we washed him out anyway. You can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the problem with the AI, though, is getting consistency every single time. And if you're in an enterprise side where you're trying to be consistent with your metrics, how do you make that happen? I don't know.
Yeah. And to throw a bigger wrench into it, for how do you also account for those one-off situations where you have to be inconsistent with how it's been done? Like for me, it's like I work on motorcycles. 99% of the time, this will work. But but I work on, again, motorcycles. It's always that 1% time it doesn't work that we've got to figure it out.
Well, yeah. Well, that's why in the Air Force we have human beings doing the instructing, because they're stuck within a framework and what they're really allowed to do, but they know where the walls are. But in AI, you're never really quite sure about that.
Yeah, I mean,
Absolutely.
you have thresholds of bias, but that's about it, right?
Yeah,
walls.
I mean, this is a great topic. Just as a point for Neon Protocol, let's look at getting some people in that are really doing innovative things with the kind of convergence of AI and XR, where we all have done some of this. There are people out there doing cool things. It's not appropriate for every industry, every business, every use case, but there are some interesting things being done. It might be interesting on one of the episodes to aggregate some people that are out there doing those things. And I'm sure they would love to come on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
In fact, that's a great plug for our next episode. Our next episode is going to feature Sophie Thompson from Virtual Speech, which this is her bread and butter, which is designing. So her story is really interesting. I'll let her tell most of it, but kind of give you a background. So when she was in university in England, she hates public speaking. She absolutely despises it. But so she wanted to be able to practice. So she created an AI bot, like a chat bot with a face and everything. That way she can practice giving speeches, and realized that it could grow more from that. So straight out of college, she started Virtual Speech. And what she's doing is using AI avatars to create interactive simulations that respond in real time based on whatever the AI has been, without whatever data the AI has been loaded with. So, and you can set the temperament of the simulation. So where I found it be really impactful, she's got a great simulation that's an elevator pitch. You've got 60 seconds on an elevator ride to pitch a CEO. That's it. And I mean, you're in the elevator, it's going, it's beautifully done, but it's a great blend of what we're talking about. And I know she's had some really great results that I think she's really excited to share with us.
Good. Now, if I do that in XR and I hit the stop button and the elevator doesn't stop, I've lost immersion. Just
shoot through the top of the building.
That sounds cool. That sounds really cool.
My luck is they're only going one floor. It's yeah. So you're following behind, with your going, please listen. No, so yeah, I agree. And in fact, one of the things I wanted to do too, as we're kind of wrapping up, is first call out. We've had 2 people that have actually listened to every episode so far, Dorian and Kelly. So if you guys are listening, thank you guys for the support. We're really appreciating it. Kelly's actually going to be on an episode in a couple months. He actually went to high school with me, so we're going to try to so not to surprise anything, but we're going to try to have an episode talking about technology through the ages as we saw it develop throughout our experiences. So but I would love to also have him on, because he talks about AI a lot and works in it. But if you're out there and you're listening and you have a really good use case that you want to share, or you think that would be worthwhile to add to the Neon Protocol, please send us a message. We would love to talk to you and potentially include your use case or your opinions. As you see, we kind of have some strong ones. But your opinions, your thoughts, even if even your results, where you're going, because again, we can only learn from each other.
So now, subscribe and drop it in the comments.
Absolutely.
We need to give them a way to get in touch with us.
Absolutely. So, well, if you want to get in touch, what you can do is go to Latchkey Nation on LinkedIn, and you can actually add a post, or you can actually start a communication.
Comment
Marcus,
comment in the video.
Comment.
I will
Comment
cut
in the
it.
video.
Comment in the video. Comment in the video. Do we allow
Subscribe and
comments in
comment.
our videos?
Subscribe and comment.
Subscribe and comment.
I will cut
Like
all that out.
and share.
Yeah, like
So,
and share. That's it.
Yeah, so if you want to add, so please comment, like, share, follow, subscribe. Please, we're really trying to get this to grow, and we've got 7 episodes out, and so far we've had a really, even though it's a 1-hour podcast on tech, we've had really good responses, and we really want to make sure that we are covering everything as beyond just our opinions. So, with that, we thank you guys for joining our episode tonight. If you want to learn more, please, again, go to our LinkedIn page. Feel free to start a conversation. We would love to talk to you guys. And in the meantime, we'll talk to everybody soon and enjoy technology. It's about the best I can say.